If you're over 50 and your body feels slower, even when you're trying to do everything right, this might be why. What if one small thing you do every morning is quietly speeding up how fast you age? Because after 50, your body doesn't handle the same routines the way it used to. And some habits that feel completely normal can start working against you without any clear warning. And the most concerning part, a lot of people think these habits are actually healthy. That's why today's video, 5 morning habits making you age faster after 50, isn't just another list. It's a closer look at the small routines that may be draining your energy, increasing stiffness, and slowly wearing your body down. And when you see "age faster" on the thumbnail, it's not dramatic. It's describing something that happens quietly every single morning. And chances are, you haven't questioned it until now. And here's something most people never stop to think about. It's not just what you do in the morning. It's when your body is most vulnerable that makes it important. Right after you wake up, your body is in a very delicate transition state. And at this time, even small daily habits can have a much bigger impact than you realize. The strange part is, nothing feels wrong in the moment. You don't feel damage happening. You don't feel anything unusual at all. But over time, these small morning patterns can start to show up in ways people don't connect back to their routine. Like lower energy, slower recovery, or that gradual feeling of not being as strong as before. And after 50, this becomes even more noticeable because the body doesn't respond to everyday stress the same way it used to. Which is exactly why mornings matter more than most people realize. Not because they are complicated, but because they are the starting point of everything your body goes through in a day. And once you see it like this, you start questioning something very simple. What if one of your normal morning habits is quietly influencing all of this, without you ever noticing? Let's start with the first habit. And honestly, this is one most people don't even realize they're doing wrong. Because for many people over 50, the morning doesn't begin with real nourishment. It begins with something quick, something familiar, something that feels harmless. A cup of tea, a coffee, or sometimes nothing at all for a while. And at first, nothing seems wrong. It feels normal, it feels light, even comforting. But here's what most people don't realize. Your body isn't just waking up, it's trying to stabilize itself after hours of rest. And when the first thing it gets is only stimulation, instead of real support, it starts operating in a kind of imbalance you don't immediately feel. Not as one big problem, but as small shifts in how steady your energy feels, how strong your mornings feel, and how quickly fatigue shows up later in the day. And because it's so gradual, people rarely connect it back to their morning routine. They just start noticing, I don't feel as strong as I used to in the mornings. And the dangerous part is, this becomes a daily pattern, not a one-time thing. Which means the effect isn't sudden. It's cumulative, quiet, and easy to ignore. And that's exactly why this habit matters more than it seems. Because what feels normal may not be neutral for your body anymore after 50. And this is just the first one. And here's where things get even more interesting. Because this next habit doesn't feel like a mistake at all. In fact, most people would call it normal, even responsible. But in reality, it can quietly set the tone for low energy for the rest of the day. After waking up, many people stay in a very inactive start. No water, very little movement, and often immediately jumping into stress, screens, or daily pressure. And at first, it doesn't feel like anything is happening. But after 50, the body doesn't transition from rest to activity as smoothly as it used to. It needs a gradual startup phase. Light movement, hydration, and a few quiet minutes to fully wake up. When that doesn't happen, the body doesn't suddenly fail. It just runs slightly below its best level. And over time, that shows up in subtle ways. Like slower thinking, lower morning energy, or that feeling of heaviness that's hard to explain. Most people don't connect this back to their morning routine. They assume it's just aging. But the pattern is often more consistent than they realize. Because if every day starts in a slightly underprepared state, the body never really gets a proper reset. And that's where this becomes important. Not because it feels extreme, but because it feels normal. And now we come to something most people completely underestimate. Because this next habit doesn't look unhealthy at all. In fact, it looks responsible. Staying informed, planning the day, thinking ahead, even staying mentally alert first thing in the morning. But here's the part people miss. For many over 50, the morning mind is far more sensitive than they realize. And when the day starts with stress, urgency, or mental overload, the body doesn't immediately distinguish between real danger and daily pressure. It responds the same way, by staying slightly activated instead of relaxed. And when that becomes a daily pattern, it doesn't feel dramatic. It just feels normal. But over time, that constant early mental pressure can quietly affect how the body feels throughout the day. Energy levels, calmness, and even how quickly you recover from normal fatigue. Most people never connect this back to their morning routine, because nothing feels wrong in the moment. It just feels like life. But the real shift happens silently, when the body stops getting a calm start, and begins every day already slightly on edge. And once that becomes the default, fatigue starts feeling normal, even when it isn't. And that's where this habit becomes dangerous. Not because it's extreme, but because it feels completely normal. And now we come to a habit that feels completely harmless, even responsible, but quietly affects more than most people realize. It's how many people start their mornings without much movement at all. Sitting for too long, staying in the same position after waking up, or delaying even light activity for hours. At first, it doesn't feel like anything is happening. It just feels calm, slow, normal. But after 50, the body doesn't wake up as quickly as it used to. It needs gentle activation early in the day, just to feel fully switched on. And when that doesn't happen, the change isn't obvious. There's no sudden pain, no clear warning sign. Just a subtle shift in how your body feels. A little more stiffness. A little less steadiness when you move. And a morning energy that doesn't fully return the way it used to. And because it happens slowly, most people don't notice the pattern forming. They just start assuming it's part of getting older. But what's actually happening is more gradual. The body begins adapting to a lower level of morning activation. Not all at once, but day by day, until what used to feel like a normal morning starts to feel like your new baseline. And that's what makes this habit so easy to miss. Because nothing about it feels wrong in the moment. It just feels like a quiet start to the day. But over time, quiet mornings can reshape how strong your mornings actually feel. And now we come to the most overlooked morning habit of all. And if you've been paying attention so far, this one ties everything together. Because even if someone eats well, moves a little, and tries to stay healthy, this habit can still quietly influence how their body feels over time. And it's not a specific action. It's what's missing in most mornings. That first calm reset after waking up. For many people, the moment the eyes open, the day immediately begins. No pause, no transition, no real moment for the body to fully settle into being awake. It's straight into activity, thinking, planning, or reacting. And after 50, That sudden shift becomes harder on the system than most people realize, because the body doesn't switch states as smoothly as it used to. It performs better with a gradual start. And when that doesn't happen, the effects aren't immediate. There's no obvious breakdown, just subtle changes in how the day feels. A bit less clarity, slightly lower energy stability, or that feeling that your body never fully catches up in the morning. And most people never see this as a pattern, because it feels like normal life. But over time, that missing reset moment becomes something the body never really replaces. And that's when mornings stop feeling like a fresh start, and start feeling like a continuation of yesterday's fatigue. And this is exactly why this habit matters. Not because it's visible, but because it's missing. And this is where most people quietly lose progress without ever realizing it. Not because something suddenly changes, but because the same morning patterns continue, day after day, without interruption. And over time, the body starts reflecting that pattern. Energy doesn't last as long as it used to. Strength doesn't feel as consistent. And everyday tasks begin to feel a little heavier than before. Most people don't connect this back to their mornings, because nothing ever felt wrong in the moment. It just felt like life. But the real shift happens quietly, over months and years, until one day you notice you don't feel the same as you used to. And that's when it usually gets blamed on age. But what this video really shows is something different. It's not just time that changes how you feel. It's the pattern that time follows every single morning. And once you see it this way, it becomes hard to unsee. Because your mornings are no longer just a routine. They are a signal, repeated every day, shaping how your body feels over time.